Half a year later, reporters swarmed the entrance of the Milan courthouse. Camera flashes blazed like tiny suns, blinding everyone. Reporters' questions buzzed like a hive of bees, surrounding Isabella, Victor, and Emily, who was being held in Isabella's arms. Isabella wore an elegant white dress, her face painted with elegant makeup, but the panic in her eyes couldn't be hidden. She knew this trial would change all three of their lives forever. Mr. Rossi, how do you respond to Mr. Lucas's claim for visitation rights? A female reporter with glasses pushed her way to the front, her recorder almost touching Victor's face. Sources say Miss Emily isn't your biological daughter. Is this true? Victor's fingers tightened warningly around Isabella's waist, so hard it made her gasp. He wore a perfect smile, his voice as steady as if he'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. We trust the law will deliver a fair verdict. The child's well-being is our top priority. As for those rumors, they're baseless. We won't dignify them with a response. His eyes were cold, as if he were negotiating a business deal, not fighting for his daughter's visitation rights. Isabella held Emily tightly, shielding the baby from the reporter's cameras with her body. Emily was frightened by the flashes. She clung to Isabella's clothes, her bright blue eyes filling with tears, looking utterly wronged. "Mommy, scared," she whispered, her voice trembling with sobs. "Don't be afraid, baby. Mommy's here." Isabella patted Emily's back gently, her heart filled with panic. She didn't know why Lucas had suddenly sued for visitation rights, didn't know why he'd dragged this into court, making it a public spectacle. All she knew was that after today, her lies might be completely exposed, and her life might collapse entirely. The glass doors of the courthouse reflected their three figures: Victor in a tailored suit, Isabella in an elegant dress, holding a delicate baby. They looked like the perfect, wealthy family portrait. But only Isabella knew the secrets and lies hidden behind that portrait, the pain and guilt that lay beneath. "Mommy." Emily suddenly reached up to grab Isabella's earrings. Her little fingers nimbly hooked the pearl on the earring, a habit just like Lucas's when he was thinking. He always liked to twirl a pen between his fingers. Isabella's heart sank. She quickly pulled Emily's hand away from her earring, clutching it tightly, afraid the baby would do something else, like Lucas, and arouse suspicion. The courtroom was freezing cold. Even as Isabella held Emily, she felt a chill to the bone. Lucas was already sitting in the plaintiff's seat. He wore a new black suit, his hair combed neatly. He looked much more serious than usual. But Isabella could still see the tiredness in his eyes and the redness around them. He must not have slept well lately, must have been under enormous pressure. He hired lawyer Piero. Victor whispered in Isabella's ear, a hint of sneer in his voice. "That bloodsucker who specializes in celebrity cases. He loves these wealthy family scandals, just to get media attention." His tone was dismissive, but it couldn't hide his panic. Lawyer Piero was famous for his ruthless tactics and solid evidence. Once he got hold of a loophole, it was hard to escape. The judge's gavel struck suddenly. Bang! Emily jumped, her lower lip trembling, on the verge of tears. Isabella patted her back quickly, whispering reassurances, but her eyes were fixed on the table in front of her. She didn't dare look at Lucas, afraid to see his pain, afraid to see his anger. "Plaintiff Lucas Nielsen, you are claiming 4 monthly visitation sessions and accusing the defendants of deliberately blocking the establishment of a parent-child relationship. Is this true?" The clerk's voice echoed through the empty courtroom, cold and mechanical. Lucas suddenly looked up, his gaze locking straight onto Isabella and Emily. His eyes were filled with pain and longing, and a faint plea. He just wanted to see his daughter, to spend time with her. He never thought it would come to this, to a public trial. Isabella instinctively pulled Emily closer, but the baby suddenly giggled. She pointed toward Lucas, babbling, "Daddy, hug." The courtroom fell silent instantly. All eyes turned to them. Reporters' cameras clicked wildly, flashes lighting up the room. Isabella's face turned deathly pale. She held Emily so tightly it looked like she might hurt the baby. She could feel Victor's body freeze. She could see his hands clench into fists under the table, his knuckles turning white. "Please state the defendant's position." The judge's gaze turned to Victor and Isabella, his expression serious. Victor stood up. The diamond cufflinks on his suit sleeves glinted coldly in the light. He adjusted his tie, his voice steady and powerful. "As the child's legal father, I believe frequent changes in caregivers are harmful to a young child's mental health. Emily is only 1.5 years old. She needs stability. For monthly visits are too frequent. They will upset her. His reasoning sounded flawless, but the panic in his eyes betrayed his true fear. He was afraid Emily would grow too close to Lucas, afraid she'd say more things she shouldn't. Lucas's lawyer immediately stood up, his voice filled with urgency. Your Honor, my client has sufficient evidence to prove a strong emotional bond with the child. My client has repeatedly tried to visit the child, only to be rejected by the defendants for various reasons. This constitutes deliberate obstruction. He handed a stack of photos to the judge. These photos prove my client has a close relationship with the child, and the child is deeply attached to him. The projector turned on suddenly. The screen lit up with photos. Lucas holding Emily in the park, feeding her baby food, sitting beside her as she slept. In every photo, Emily was smiling happily, clinging tightly to Lucas's clothes, her eyes filled with attachment. Lucas had taken these photos secretly after Emily was born, when he'd gone to the park near her house. He'd only dared to watch from a distance, never approaching. Isabella's nails dug into her palm, the metallic taste of blood filling her mouth. She didn't know when Lucas had taken these photos, didn't know why he'd kept them. Each photo was like a knife, stabbing her heart. She'd robbed Lucas of his right to be a father, robbed Emily of her father's love. She was so selfish. That was last Christmas. Lucas suddenly stood up, his voice choking with emotion. I saw them in the park near the defendant's house by chance. When Emily saw me, she ran over and hugged my leg, calling me daddy. She told me she liked blue toys, that she loved strawberry yogurt. The defendants knew all this, but they kept stopping me from seeing her, kept lying to me. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Reporters raised their cameras higher, flashes going off nonstop. Victor's profile was as stiff as marble, his eyes filled with cold anger. His lawyer stood up immediately, his voice booming. Your Honor, I request that the plaintiff's emotional outburst be stopped. The legality of these private photos needs to be investigated. Furthermore, these photos do not prove a strong emotional bond. They only prove the plaintiff illegally approached the child. Order. The judge struck his gavel hard. The courtroom fell silent again. Emily burst into tears, her cries echoing sharply in the empty room. Isabella fumbled for the baby's bottle, only to realize she'd forgotten it in her hurry to leave that morning. She'd been too flustered to remember something so important. Just then, Lucas pulled a blue baby bottle from his briefcase. It was Emily's favorite color, her usual brand. A small sun was printed on the bottle, the first gift Lucas had ever given her. May I feed her? She's hungry. His voice was pleading, his eyes filled with compassion. He knew Emily's habits, knew she cried when she was hungry, knew she liked this blue bottle. That a bailiff took the bottle, inspected it carefully to confirm it was safe, then handed it to Isabella. When Isabella's fingers touched the bottle, she found the milk inside was still warm. Lucas must have heated it before leaving home. He even knew Emily was due for her feed. This small detail shattered all her pretense. Tears poured out of her eyes. She looked at Lucas, at the compassion and longing in his eyes, and suddenly felt cruel and selfish. Are you satisfied now? Isabella suddenly stood up, her voice hoarse and unrecognizable, bringing a 1.5-year-old child to court, parading her like an exhibit for everyone to gawk at. Are you happy? Her gaze swept over Lucas, his lawyer, and the camera-wielding reporters, finally stopping on Victor. Victor, is this what you wanted? To ruin Emily, just to save your pride, to protect the Rossi name? Victor grabbed Isabella's arm roughly, tried to pull her down. Calm down, Bella. This is a courtroom. Don't talk nonsense. His nails dug into her skin, making her cry even harder. Did you forget what we talked about? Did you forget we need to protect Emily? I request a 10-minute recess. The defendant needs to compose herself. Victor's lawyer immediately requested, panic in his voice. He was afraid Isabella would say more, afraid she'd destroy their case entirely. The judge nodded and declared a recess. Isabella held Emily, stumbling into the bathroom. In a mirror, her mascara was smudged like black spider legs on her cheeks. Her hair was messy, like a bird's nest. She turned on the faucet, splashing cold water on her face, trying to calm down. But her tears wouldn't stop. She knew she couldn't hold on anymore. This lie was crushing her. Signora? Victor's assistant knocked gently on the door, his voice anxious. The reporters are blocking the hallway. Mr. Victor suggests you leave through the side door to avoid them. Isabella dried her tears, staring at her disheveled reflection. She took a deep breath. "Tell Victor I'm going to finish my testimony. I won't let Emily suffer for nothing. I'll fight for what's fair for her." She couldn't run anymore, couldn't hide behind lies. She had to tell the truth. She had to give Emily the chance to choose her father, had to give Lucas the chance to be with his daughter. When she returned to the courtroom, a familiar figure had joined the audience, Sophia. She wore sunglasses, covering most of her face, but Isabella recognized her instantly. Sophia's pearl necklace glinted coldly in the light, like a coiled snake ready to strike. Isabella knew Sophia was here to watch her, to make sure she didn't tell the truth. "Call the defendant, Isabella Rossi, to the witness stand." The judge's voice rang out again, authoritative and unyielding. Isabella held Emily, stepping onto the witness stand. The wooden rail pressed against her ribs, uncomfortable. She looked up, her eyes meeting Lucas's. His eyes were bloodshot, his face filled with pain and hope, as if waiting for redemption. "Do you admit to having an extramarital affair with the plaintiff, Lucas Nielsen?" Lucas's lawyer cut straight to the chase, his tone aggressive. A cough came from behind her, Victor's silent warning. Isabella took a deep breath, tightening her hold on Emily. Her voice was firm. "Yes, I admit it." When the words left her mouth, she felt a weight lift from her chest. It was painful, but it was a relief. She'd finally told the truth, no longer trapped in lies. The courtroom erupted again. Reporters' cameras clicked wildly, flashes blinding everyone. Victor's body stiffened for a moment, then returned to calm. But Isabella could feel his hands clench into fists under the table, his knuckles white. He must have been furious, disappointed, heartbroken. He'd trusted her so much, protected her so much, and she'd betrayed him. "Do you admit that Miss Emily is your biological daughter with the plaintiff, Lucas Nielsen?" Lucas's lawyer pressed on, his voice sharp as a knife. Cutting through the chaos in the courtroom, Isabella's arms tightened around Emily. The baby let out a soft whimper, nuzzling into her neck. Her bright blue eyes were filled with attachment. Those eyes, exactly like Lucas's, were a proof etched into their bones, impossible to hide any longer. She lifted her head, meeting Victor's cold gaze, Lucas's tear-reddened eyes, and the lenses of countless reporters' cameras. Her voice, though trembling with sobs, was unusually firm. "Yes, Emily is Lucas's and my daughter. From the very beginning, I lied to Victor, lied to everyone." The words exploded like a bomb in the courtroom. Reporters surged forward, their microphones nearly jabbing Isabella's face. The click of camera shutters was as dense as a rainstorm, and the flashes turned the entire room into a blazing daylight. "Mrs. Rossi, when did you start your relationship with Mr. Lucas? Did you deliberately hide the baby's identity to steal the Rossi family's fortune? Will Mr. Victor divorce you now that he knows the truth?" A hail of questions poured down on her, leaving her barely able to breathe. Victor suddenly shot up from his chair. A button on his suit jacket popped off, bouncing across the floor with a crisp clatter. He stared at Isabella, his gray-blue eyes no longer calm. Only the rage and humiliation of betrayal blazed in them. "What did you say?" His voice was scraped raw, each word ground out through clenched teeth. "Say it again." Isabella couldn't meet his eyes. She lowered her head, tears dripping onto Emily's white dress, leaving small dark stains. "I'm sorry, Victor. I'm so sorry. Lucas and I met at the gym. I was so lonely back then, and he gave me warmth. After Emily was born, I was even more afraid you'd find out the truth, afraid you'd hurt her, afraid our family would fall apart. I had no choice but to keep lying." "Liar." Victor suddenly slammed his fist on the table in front of him. The solid wooden table let out a loud crack, splitting open a long seam. Papers and water cups on the table toppled over, hot water spilling across the floor. Bailiffs rushed forward to hold his arms, but he shrugged them off violently. "I trusted you so much. For you, for this family, I faked the paternity test, stood against the entire family, and even turned down important merger deals. Is this how you repay me? You treated me like a fool." His roar echoed through the courtroom, raw with heartbreak. Isabella watched him lose control, her heart aching as if cut by a knife. She knew she'd shattered Victor's pride, destroyed his trust in marriage, and ruined everything he'd worked so hard to protect. "I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I'll take all the consequences, divorce, compensation, anything." "Take the consequences?" Victor suddenly laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "What consequences can you take? You've ruined my life. ruined the Rossi family's reputation. You made me a laughingstock in all of Milan. He pointed at Lucas, his eyes blazing with fury. And you knew she was my wife, but you still seduced her. Still got her pregnant with your child. You're a despicable thief, stealing my wife, stealing my daughter. Lucas shoved the bailiffs blocking him aside and rushed to Isabella's side. He stretched out his hands, eager to take Emily from her arms, his voice urgent and tender. Bella, give the baby to me. I won't let anyone hurt her. I'll take good care of both of you. His blonde hair was matted with sweat, sticking to his forehead, and the red, bloodshot veins in his eyes were stark. Clearly, he'd suppressed his fatherly love for far too long. Don't you dare touch her. Victor also broke free of the bailiffs. He stepped in front of Isabella, confronting Lucas. The two men were nearly the same height, one in an expensive tailored suit, seething with anger, the other in a neat black suit, burning with urgency. The air between them seemed to freeze, ready to ignite into a more violent clash at any moment. Emily still bears the Rossi name. She's my daughter in name, and you, an outsider, have no right to take her. I'm her biological father. Lucas roared, his voice cracking with despair. I have the right to raise her, the right to let her know who her real father is. You're just a father in name. You don't love her at all. All you care about is the Rossi family's reputation. He pointed at Victor, each word dripping with blood and tears. You've never played with her once, never fed her once, and you don't even know she likes blue toys or strawberry yogurt. What right do you have to fight me for her? Victor's face turned ashen, his fists clenched tighter, his knuckles whitening from the force. I don't love her. I stood against Mario, stood against my own mother, all for her. I gave her the best life, the best education, the best medical care. What can you give her? You're just a fitness coach. Can you give her the Rossi family's resources? Can you help her stand firm in Milan? Resources? Standing firm. Lucas let out a cold laugh, disdain in his eyes. Is the good life you're talking about making her live in lies? Making her grow up, not knowing who her real father is? Is the love you're talking about treating her like a tool to protect the family's reputation? He stared at Victor, his voice firm. I may just be a fitness coach, but I'll use all my love to raise her. I'll let her know what a real family is, what real warmth is. That's 1,000,000 times more important than your cold resources and empty reputation. Just as the two men were locked in a standoff, Sophia suddenly stood up from the audience. She stormed over in her high heels, grabbing Isabella's arm and digging her nails into her skin. You bitch! You've ruined our Rossi family. Ruined Victor. And now you want this bastard to ruin everything else for us. Her pearl necklace jiggled with her rage, and venomous hatred filled her eyes. Let me tell you, Isabella, even if this child is that man's spawn, she'll never leave the Rossi family. She's the heir of the Rossi family, and that will never change. Let her go. Lucas pushed Sophia away, shielding Isabella and Emily behind him. Sophia stumbled back a few steps, nearly falling. She pointed at Lucas, trembling with anger. Who do you think you are? How dare you lay a hand on me? I'll have my lawyer sue you for assault. I'll make sure you can't stay in Milan a single day longer. That's enough. The judge struck his gavel hard, his voice so authoritative that the entire courtroom fell silent at once. This is a courtroom, not a place for you to throw a tantrum. If anyone disturbs the order again, I'll have them arrested for contempt of court. The judge's gaze swept over everyone present, finally settling on Isabella. Mrs. Rossi, since you admit Emily is Mr. Nielsen's daughter, what do you request regarding custody and visitation rights? Isabella held Emily in her arms, watching the tense standoff before her, her heart heavy with exhaustion and guilt. She looked at Victor, the man she'd betrayed, the man she'd hurt. Though he was cold, he'd given her 3 years of stable life and nominal protection for Emily. Then she looked at Lucas, the man who'd given her warmth, the man who'd given her love. He was Emily's biological father, with the right to be by his daughter's side as she grew up. She took a deep breath, her voice trembling. I hope we can co-parent Emily. Victor can remain her legal father in name, providing her with a good life and resources. Lucas can visit her regularly, letting her feel a father's love. I don't want Emily to lose the love of either parent because of our mistakes. Impossible. Victor and Lucas spoke at the same time, their voices filled with refusal. Victor stared at Isabella, disappointment in his eyes. You still want to keep lying? You still want Emily to live in deception? Let me tell you, Isabella, either you stay with me and make that man disappear from Emily's life forever, or we get a divorce, and you take your daughter and get out of the Rossi family. Lucas also shook his head, pleading in his eyes. Bella, stop deceiving yourself. Victor doesn't love Emily at all. All he cares about is the family's reputation. Come with me. We'll take Emily away from Milan, go to Denmark, go somewhere no one knows us, and start over. I'll give you and Emily a real home, a home without lies or deception. Isabella looked at the two men, one forcing her to choose the family, the other forcing her to choose love. All she wanted was to choose her daughter. Emily seemed to sense her mother's dilemma. She clung tightly to Isabella's clothes, crying softly, "Mommy, don't fight. I want Daddy. And Uncle, too." Her sobs were like needles, pricking everyone's hearts. Reporters were still taking photos and shouting questions. Chaos erupted again in the courtroom. The judge shook his head helplessly and struck the gavel once more. Given the current chaos, this trial is adjourned for 3 days. Both parties shall submit new evidence and demands within 3 days, and the trial will resume then. With that, the judge stood up and left the bench, leaving behind a room full of chaos and 3 people trapped in a painful dilemma. Victor gave Isabella and Lucas a cold glare, then turned and walked away without looking back. His assistant hurried after him, carrying his coat and briefcase, and they disappeared through the courtroom door in a hurry. Sophia also shot Isabella a venomous look before storming off in her high heels, muttering curses under her breath. Lucas walked over to Isabella. He reached out gently, wanting to wipe her tears, but hesitated, afraid of scaring her. "Bella, don't be sad. In 3 days, I'll prove I'm capable of raising Emily. I'll give you and her a good life." Isabella looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "Lucas, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault that you and Victor are like this, that Emily has to go through this. If I hadn't lied to you, hadn't lied to Victor, would things not have turned out like this?" Lucas shook his head, gently brushing Emily's hair. His eyes were soft. "It's not your fault, Bella. I know you were helpless back then. You just wanted to protect Emily. Now the truth is out. We don't have to hide anymore. No matter what happens in 3 days, I'll be by your side and Emily's. I won't let you suffer any more grievances." When Emily heard Daddy, she reached out her little hand and touched Lucas's face, whispering, "Daddy, don't cry. Emily is good." Tears instantly fell from Lucas's eyes when he heard Daddy. He carefully picked Emily up, holding her as gently as if she were a priceless treasure. Emily giggled in his arms, clinging tightly to his collar and pressing her face against his chest, feeling the warmth of her biological father. Isabella watched the father and daughter, her heart filled with both relief and guilt. She knew the custody trial in 3 days would decide the future of all 3 of them. Victor would never give up Emily easily, and Sophia would not let this go. Though Lucas had a father's love, he didn't have Victor's resources or status. This battle for custody would definitely be extremely difficult. As they walked out of the courtroom, light rain began to fall. Reporters still swarmed around them, bombarding them with questions and taking photos. Lucas shielded Isabella and Emily behind him, struggling through the crowd to get into a taxi. As the taxi pulled away from the courthouse, Isabella looked out the window at the reporters and the building fading into the distance, her heart filled with confusion. She didn't know what would happen in 3 days, didn't know where she and Emily's future lay, and didn't know how to face Victor and Lucas. When they got home, the house was empty. All of Victor's things were gone. Only Isabella's and Emily's belongings remained. On the living room table lay a divorce agreement, signed by Victor. Next to it was a note, "I'll give you 3 days. Either sign the divorce agreement and take your daughter away, or never let me see you or that man again. Stay as Mrs. Rossi and protect the Rossi family's reputation. Choose one." Isabella picked up the divorce agreement. Tears fell onto the paper, blurring Victor's signature. She knew Victor had been truly heartbroken to give her such a choice. On one side was her ex-husband, her former home, and Emily's nominal identity and resources. On the other side was Emily's biological father, true love, and a future without lies. How could she choose? How could she protect Emily from any harm? Lucas walked over and hugged her gently, his voice full of tenderness. "Don't force yourself, Bella. Whatever you choose, I'll support you. If you want to sign the divorce agreement, we'll take Emily away from Milan. If you want to stay in a Rossi family, I'll wait for you. Wait until you and Emily are ready to leave together." Isabella leaned against Lucas's chest, feeling his warmth. A clear answer gradually formed in her heart. She couldn't keep letting Emily live in lies for the sake of reputation and resources. She couldn't keep making Lucas suffer the pain of separation. She had to fight for a truly happy future for herself, for Emily, and for Lucas. She wiped away her tears, picked up a pen, and signed her name on the divorce agreement. Then she looked at Lucas, a long-lost smile spreading across her face. "Lucas, let's take Emily away from Milan. Let's go to Denmark, to your hometown, and start a new life. No more lies, no more deception, just the three of us, living a good life together." Lucas looked at her, surprise and joy filling his eyes. He hugged Isabella and Emily tightly, his voice full of hope. "Yes, let's go to Denmark. Let's see the blue lavender fields, see the Nordic seas, and give Emily a real home." Emily giggled in their arms, waving her little hands as if looking forward to their new life. Isabella knew the road ahead might be difficult. They might face Sophia's revenge, reporters' pursuit, and the pressure of life. But as long as the three of them were together, as long as they loved and supported each other, they would definitely overcome all difficulties and live a happy life. 3 days later, Isabella and Lucas appeared in court together. They submitted the divorce agreement and their request for joint custody of Emily, along with proof of Lucas's property in Denmark, work certification, and bank savings, proving he was capable of raising Emily. Victor didn't appear. He only sent his lawyer, who read out his statement. "I agree to the divorce and waive custody of Emily. But I demand that Isabella and Lucas leave Milan permanently, never appear in front of the Rossi family again, and never reveal Emily's true identity to anyone." The judge finally ruled. Isabella and Victor were to be divorced. Custody of Emily was to be shared by Isabella and Lucas. Isabella and Lucas were to leave Milan within 1 month and must not disturb the Rossi family's life again. The moment they received the judgment, Isabella and Lucas let out a long sigh of relief. They held Emily in their arms and walked out of the courtroom. Sunlight broke through the clouds, shining down on them, warm and bright. They knew a new life was about to begin. Though the future was full of unknowns, with each other and Emily, they had the courage to face anything that a month later, Isabella, Lucas, and Emily left Milan together and flew to Denmark. In a Danish lavender field, Lucas held Emily in his arms, and Isabella stood beside them. The three of them smiled brightly in the sunlight. Emily's light blonde hair fluttered in the wind, and her bright blue eyes were filled with happiness. Isabella looked at the scene before her heart full of gratitude. She was grateful for Lucas's persistence and waiting, grateful for Victor's willingness to let go, and most of all, grateful for having the courage to face the truth and choose true happiness. Though the lies and hurts of the past still left scars in their hearts, in the days ahead, they would use love and warmth to heal all wounds and give Emily a childhood filled with sunshine and happiness. They knew this was the best way to bid farewell to the past and embrace the future.